Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. I came across this story a couple weeks ago, but given the tech issues I've been having, I haven't been able to get to it until now. And I tell you, when I came across it on Twitter, yeah, it's a doozy. Teen with autism still traumatized weeks after RCMP arrested him at a playground. I'll give you 10 guesses as to which province this came from, but I'd be shocked if it takes you more than one. Yep, you guessed it, Alberta. Yeah, Alberta. Wow. Okay, yeah, the dumpster fire that could of Canada. I push buttons, so should you. Twitter, the internal flame of dumpster fires. I spend most of my time there. Come join me. I've also just signed up for TikTok. You can find me there as Left of the Box. Please, if you can, support my channel by becoming a patron or purchase something off my wish list to help build my studio. Every little bit helps. Links are in the description box below. The RCMP, the R surprisingly not standing for racism, basically kidnapped a teenager from a park. I guess old habits die hard. For those of you watching from outside this country, or even those of you living here who don't understand that reference, the RCMP was literally created to control and devastate Indigenous peoples. One of their duties was to kidnap Indigenous children and take them to residential schools. This story struck a nerve with me because I'm also autistic. I watch the stories, I see the statistics. I know that should I have an encounter with the police, there's a higher probability for it to end poorly for me. This is from CBC News. Alberta teen with autism still traumatized weeks after RCMP arrested him at a playground. Riley Bowman squeals as he scampers across the playground equipment, crunching dead leaves with his fingers and scattering the tiny pieces into the wind. A siren from a passing ambulance blares and he runs to his mother, burying his head in her shoulder as she wraps her arms around him tight. The Edmonton teenager who has autism was arrested at St. Albert Playground earlier this month. More than 3 weeks later, the boy's parents say he remains traumatized by his encounter with the police. Riley, 16, was playing in a park behind his grandparents' house in St. Albert on October 2nd when he was detained by the RCMP, reminder, are not standing for racism, who believed he was a man impaired by drugs. An hour later, he was transferred from a police holding cell to a hospital. Mounties say the boy repeatedly harmed himself while in their custody. No charges were laid against Riley and none are being considered, RCMP said. That's because he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just playing in a playground. Riley's mother, Laura Hawthorne, said her son, who is nonverbal and functions at the level of a 7-year-old, had been changed by the hours he spent in custody. Riley is now often anxious. The arrest has led him to major setbacks in his development, she said. Hearing sirens leaves him panicked for hours, Hawthorne said. He jumps out of his skin, she said. He just runs up to me and his whole body shakes. He is really struggling. Scared to leave the house alone or be unsupervised at home, even for a few minutes, he refuses to return to his grandparents' home in St. Albert, which must be devastating for the grandparents to not be able to see their grandson. My whole life has been Riley, just trying to help him through, his mother said, and this has just undone everything. The Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, the province's policing watchdog, is investigating the conduct of the officers involved in the arrest. RCMP has also launched an internal investigation. Ah yes, the RCMP. Very reliable when it comes to investigating themselves. RCMP have said they were told by 911 callers that Riley was a man impaired by drugs. However, details released last week by ASIRT, that's the Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, revealed that police were informed before the arrest that Riley might have a disability. Riley's father, Aaron Kraus? I've never been good with names, I apologize. Aaron said his son now clings to his parents and has been robbed of his hard-won independence. Simple tasks like preparing his own meals in the microwave are now a challenge, Aaron said. He no longer wants to ride his scooter outside the family's Edmonton home, once his favorite activity. His medications have had to be increased and additional behavior therapy will be needed to help him manage, Aaron said. He was doing really well, he said. We're starting back at zero again, and it's a lot because people don't understand how much it takes to get him to that point. St. Albert RCMP said they made the arrest after receiving multiple 911 calls about a man who was exhibiting erratic behavior near a playground behind Albert Lancome School. Exhibiting erratic behavior. Chances are the behavior wasn't erratic, it was just unusual, and people tend to be uncomfortable with the unusual, so they'll just label it as erratic. I've sat down on the swing set near my place when I go out for walks. Might be unusual for an adult to do that, but I'm not erratic when I do that. I like to swing back and forth every now and then on a nice day. And as soon as kids approach the playground, if I'm there, I leave because I don't want to hog the equipment. The RCMP were told that Riley, whom they described as cooperative, was an adult. Officers decided to arrest him when the teen couldn't tell them his name. Detachment Commander Inspector Ryan told a news conference on October 5th. So if he was cooperative, why arrest him? It would have been apparent as soon as they started to interact with him, if he's nonverbal, that he's nonverbal. Why not just wait and assess the situation before taking the extreme action of arresting somebody who isn't posing a threat to anyone? The boy began hurting himself during the ride to the detachment, but paramedics weren't called until after he was placed in holding cells, RCMP said. Oh, okay. So they waited. They let him hurt himself, and they waited until they put him in a holding cell instead of maybe going directly to a hospital or directly calling the paramedics to the scene to maybe assess the situation. No, it's far more important that they put him in a holding cell first. In an October 19th news release, ASIRT said RCMP were told before they encountered Riley that he could have a disability. RCMP received a report that a younger male in his early 20s was behaving oddly in the playground. Again, defined behaving oddly in a playground other than a larger, not child, playing in the playground. That's worthy of a police intervention. Was he harming anyone? Was he threatening anyone? No, he was just in a playground. And that was enough for people around him to be uncomfortable, to call the police. The caller thought the male could have some severe handicap or possibly be on drugs and should not be left in the playground alone. Police were dispatched for a suspicious male who was either on drugs or handicapped. Handicapped, Apparently the person called the police from 1989. RCMP declined to comment further on the case Monday, citing the ongoing investigation. Really? Riley and his siblings had been at their grandparents' house for dinner when the teen asked to play on the swings in the park. The playground can be seen from the home's kitchen window. This might come as a shock to some people, but you can have a disability and still do things by yourself. Yeah, you can still go to a park. Or some of us can even live on our own. Some of us can go driving. We have different range of abilities, and a lot of us don't need to be monitored 24/7. He was just in a park behind the house, something he's already done plenty of times, enough times that the grandparents felt comfortable with him going because they know him. They know what he's likely to do. They know his behaviors, and they could check in on him. The family realized Riley was missing minutes later when his grandmother called him in for ice cream. This just goes to show how quickly the police arrested him when they showed up on the scene. Instead of just waiting and assessing the situation, they thought, okay, no, he can't tell us his name, so we're just going to arrest him and take him away. So fast, the family didn't see this happen. Within an hour after searching the park and nearby ravine, they filed a missing person report. RCMP called back 20 minutes later to inform them they had arrested Riley. How terrified was that family in that moment? When he went missing, to have to go search by a ravine, horrified about what they might see. The terror people have when a loved one suddenly goes missing, especially a child. The trauma the police put this entire family through was uncalled for. The whole time we were just looking for him, we didn't know, she said. It happened so quick, and I didn't know if he was kidnapped. I didn't know if something had happened to him. He was just gone, she said. It was the scariest moment of my life. They said he was apprehended. I still don't understand why. Riley was released from hospital with soft tissue injuries to his head, face, back, and wrists. Riley has never harmed himself before, she said. The parents say their relief at finding Riley soon turned into disbelief and anger. Cross said he called the RCMP for an explanation, but is still waiting for answers. It's every autism parent's worst nightmare, he said. If you talk to parents who have children that have autism, they're going to tell you that their biggest fear is that their child is going to be misinterpreted, and that when they are misinterpreted, that it could lead to their harm in some way. The boy's family has hired a Calgary-based law firm. Hawthorne and Cross hope their son's arrest helps ensure there are robust training protocols for first responders to ensure police paramedics can recognize autism and other disabilities. The couple say Riley's arrest also demonstrates the need for more community awareness and empathy for people whose brains work differently from what is considered typical. How is he hurting anyone? Hawthorne said. If anything positive can happen from this, I hope it's a catalyst for change. Here's a follow-up article. Alberta RCMP launched internal investigation after teen with autism arrested in St. Albert playground. I'll have it linked below along with the article I just read. And in it, they said all the stuff that you would expect them to say. Experts say the arrest demonstrates the RCMP need better training to recognize if a person has autism and that stronger awareness is needed in the community. Yeah, we know. We knew this already. This isn't anything new. And of course, the article says that the police were troubled by this and that it shouldn't have happened. And, they were just concerned for his safety and the safety of others. But what was he doing that was a danger to anyone in that moment? Was he doing anything at all other than just being in a playground? He's still just a child. He's 16. This shouldn't have happened to him. If he's at the park and he's playing and he's not directly threatening anyone, but you're still a concerned neighbor, you see this happening and you're still concerned for the safety, the police are not the people who should be arriving on the scene. They are not trained to deal with this. Very obviously not trained to deal with this. None of this had to happen to him. His setbacks, none of it had to happen. Police are supposed to be keeping our communities safe, not adding more trauma to them. Hopefully Riley can recover from this situation and go back to enjoying the little things in life, being able to go to the playground and running around on his own, to get back the independence he had worked so long to gain. I've only really recently learned about my autism ever since I got online and other people started explaining their experiences. I used to rock back and forth all the time, bump my head off the back of the couch, not hurting anyone, but I did it all the time, and I was forced to stop. And then I moved to sucking my fingers, not hurting anyone, but, it's childish, you shouldn't be doing that. It's unusual, so I was forced to stop. I sat in a weird position, not the standard cross your legs like all the other kids. Even though it was super comfortable the way that I was sitting, I was forced to stop because it was unusual. And so when I was having emotional chaos, when I was having troubles processing things, I would find other ways of stimulating myself that sometimes involved digging my fingernails into my hand, biting myself to try to keep everything controlled, to not blow up, to not vent it, to not look like I was different than the other kids. And you see, this article really speaks to me for so many reasons because I know the self-harm. I've done it from an autistic perspective. And I know the chaos that is going through your mind when that happens and why you do it. I can also go nonverbal. You see, when I do these videos, I'm in a very calm situation, and generally speaking, I come across very calm, relaxed, chill. I have a very thick skin. It takes a lot to rile me up, and all of that is true. And as I tell people, I'm fine till I'm not. When I am overloaded in a situation, it's usually something bad has happened, especially if it's the first time that has happened. And it takes a big event. It's not just anything minor. But when I'm completely overloaded, I shut down and I can't respond to people. I go nonverbal. I'm completely aware of what's happening around me. I'm just not able to communicate my thoughts because there's just too much noise in my head, too many voices that are all my voice, but I don't know which one is right. So I have a hard time sorting it out, and it takes a while for me to process. If the event that I've been through is particularly troubling, I can end up in fits of uncontrollable screaming, smashing my hand into the wall to the point it has left bruises down the side of my hand and arm. If I were to do that in front of the police, the outcomes for me would not be good. I've instructed my friends that should I have an autistic meltdown or should I suffer from suicidal ideation when I'm around them, to not call the police because they won't make it better, they'll make it worse. Luckily in my area, there are other numbers that they can reach out to if they're struggling and don't know how to help me in that moment. Not every community has that resource, and more of them should. What I do now is I carry a note in my wallet that explains what is happening if I can't verbally communicate. Because, like I said, I'm still fully aware of everything that is happening around me. I just can't communicate it, but I can hand somebody a piece of paper. And so on it, I have a note that just explains to them what I'm going through and what I need. But having a note in your wallet that you can hand off to somebody, that's not necessarily going to work for everyone. So it's important that we get the proper people trained in our communities to be able to handle these situations. When we say we need to defund the police, it's not because we feel like there shouldn't be any police anywhere. It's that there should be alternatives to police in situations that don't call for it. People get so upset with the phrases defund the police and Black Lives Matter. Like, well, they sound really drastic and there's not enough buy-in with that language. And I get so fed up with that because people are saying, well, you're not convincing me why I should care. And this language, well, it's off-putting to me. And it's that double empathy problem I've been hearing about so much, because it's the people who this doesn't affect that is saying, you need to make this accommodate me and my feelings, versus the people who this doesn't affect to sit back and say, I'm going to take a moment and understand how this affects you, and actually put the effort into learning why these movements are needed, as opposed to just being put off because of the language. It shouldn't just be on the people who are generally the targets of police violence or the people living with disabilities to accommodate the people who aren't, to accommodate their sensibilities. Because while they're worried about language, we're worried about being traumatized or killed because of the police. Defund, dismantle, reinvent. Better ways of keeping communities safe are possible. Please, before you leave, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and all the other buttons that are possible to hit. Twitter, at the time of this recording, is still a thing, so please go follow me there if you have that account. I'd recommend that you sign up for it now, but Might want to wait on that a few weeks. If you can, please support my channel by becoming a patron or purchasing something off my wish list to help build my studio. A special thanks to those of you who already have. I'm also now on TikTok. Yep, I've made that move to another platform. Haha, because this wasn't chaotic enough. So you can find me there as Left of the Box. I'll have it linked in the description box below as well. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today. I push buttons, so should you. Twitter, the eternal flame of dumpster fires, is where I spend most of my time. Come join me while it lasts. It's hot. One of these days, I'm going to have to learn how to ad-lib to a camera. I push buttons, so should you. Twitter, the eternal flame of dumpster fires. I spend most of my time there. Please come join me. It's warm.